The year was 1913, and Theodore Roosevelt, former President of the United States, found himself deep in the Amazon rainforest. He had embarked on the Roosevelt-Rondon scientific expedition, a journey to map the uncharted Rio da Dúvida, the River of Doubt. The jungle was a living, breathing beast. Its towering canopy cast the forest floor in perpetual twilight, while the air buzzed with a cacophony of life. Roosevelt, clad in his khaki explorer's gear, moved through it all with the tenacity of a bull moose. He was no stranger to danger. The expedition faced venomous snakes, swarming insects, and disease-ridden waters. But Roosevelt thrived on the challenge. He carried his Winchester rifle slung across his back, a Colt revolver holstered at his side, and a hunting knife strapped to his belt. The jungle tested him daily, and he relished every moment. But as the sun dipped below the horizon on this particular day, Roosevelt felt an unease he couldn't shake. The jungle grew unnaturally quiet. Even the omnipresent chirping of insects seemed to falter. Something, or someone, was nearby. Roosevelt crouched low, his sharp eyes scanning the underbrush. He whispered to his son, Kermit, who was also part of the expedition. "Keep your weapon ready. Something's not right." A faint shimmer flickered among the trees, almost imperceptible. Roosevelt squinted, his hand tightening around the stock of his rifle. Without warning, a blur of motion exploded from the shadows, a hulking reptilian figure, half concealed by a chameleonic shimmer that made it nearly invisible. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, its scaly skin rippling with iridescent hues. Its elongated head bore sharp ridges, and its yellow eyes gleamed with a predatory intelligence. The creature raised a weapon unlike anything Roosevelt had ever seen, a long, sleek device that emitted a low hum. Roosevelt dove for cover as a searing beam of light scorched the ground where he had stood moments before, leaving a smoking crater. "What in God's name?" Kermit began, but Roosevelt cut him off. "Get to the others," he barked. "Warn them. Go now." Kermit hesitated, but obeyed, sprinting toward the distant camp. Roosevelt stayed behind, his heart pounding, his mind racing. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't from Earth. Roosevelt had faced grizzlies and mountain lions, but this was a predator unlike any he had encountered. As the alien stalked him, he relied on the jungle itself to evade it. He moved silently through the underbrush, using his knowledge of the terrain to stay one step ahead. The creature was relentless. Its technology gave it the advantage. Its weapon could incinerate trees, and its visor-like eyes seemed to track heat or motion. Roosevelt watched as it dismantled a caiman with clinical precision, studying the carcass as if cataloging the planet's fauna. It wasn't just hunting, it was on a safari, and Roosevelt was its ultimate prize. But Theodore Roosevelt was no mere prey. He was a soldier, a hunter, and a naturalist. He knew the jungle's rhythms, its hiding places, and its traps. If this creature thought he would be easy game, it was sorely mistaken. Roosevelt retreated deeper into the jungle, formulating a plan. He recalled the stories he had read of great predators and how humans had outwitted them. He would use the same principle: lure, confuse, and strike. Using his knife, he carved a trail of markings into the trees, leading the alien toward a dense thicket. He scattered scraps of his clothing along the path, baiting the creature. At the same time, he prepared the area ahead. He sharpened wooden stakes and planted them in the ground, camouflaging them with leaves and vines. He smeared tree sap over a cluster of boulders, making them slick and treacherous. As he worked, he kept an ear tuned to the alien's approach. The faint hum of its weapon, and the guttural clicks it emitted as it communicated with itself were never far away. Roosevelt didn't have to wait long. The alien followed the trail exactly as he had hoped, its shimmering form gliding through the trees. Roosevelt hid behind a cluster of ferns, watching as the creature paused to inspect one of the scraps of clothing. It raised its weapon, scanning the area. Now, Roosevelt fired his Winchester, the sharp crack of the rifle shattering the jungle's silence. The bullet struck the alien's shoulder, forcing it to stumble back. It let out a roar, an unearthly sound that sent shivers down Roosevelt's spine. The alien charged toward him, its weapon firing indiscriminately. Trees splintered and exploded in flashes of light as Roosevelt retreated toward the trap. He reached the edge of the thicket and ducked behind a tree. The alien followed, its focus entirely on him. As it stepped into the thicket, its foot caught on one of the hidden stakes. The sharpened wood pierced its leg, and it fell forward, landing on the slick boulders. It tried to regain its footing, but the sap-coated rocks gave it no purchase. Roosevelt didn't hesitate. He lunged from his hiding place, driving his hunting knife into the alien's exposed side. The creature thrashed, throwing him off, but the wound slowed it down. Blood, a thick, greenish fluid, dripped onto the ground. Injured, but not defeated, the alien roared and raised its weapon again. Roosevelt rolled behind a fallen log as the beam scorched the air above him. He scrambled for his revolver, firing shot after shot. One bullet struck the alien's weapon, causing it to spark and short-circuit. Smoke rose from the device as it fell from the creature's grasp. The alien roared again, this time in frustration. It leapt toward Roosevelt, its claws outstretched. Roosevelt met its charge head-on, swinging a branch he had grabbed from the ground. The blow staggered the creature, but it wasn't enough to bring it down. They grappled in the mud, a primal struggle of strength and will. The alien's claws raked across Roosevelt's arm, drawing blood, but he ignored the pain. He managed to grab a large stone and smashed it against the alien's head. The creature collapsed, dazed. Roosevelt didn't waste the opportunity. He grabbed the alien's own broken weapon and drove its sharp edge into the creature's throat. The alien let out one final guttural cry before falling silent, its body slumping to the ground. Exhausted and battered, Roosevelt sat beside the alien's lifeless form, his chest heaving with each breath. The jungle seemed to come alive again, the sounds of birds and insects returning as if the forest itself acknowledged his victory. When Kermit and the others found him hours later, Roosevelt was cleaning his knife, the alien's head resting beside him as a trophy. "What in heaven's name is that thing?" Kermit asked, his face pale. "Something from the stars, I reckon," Roosevelt said, his voice calm but weary. "And it came to the wrong jungle, looking for prey." Roosevelt never spoke publicly of the encounter, but the story passed through whispers among the expedition members. They buried the alien's remains in the jungle, marking the site only with a simple cairn. The weapon, broken but still mysterious, was sealed away in Roosevelt's personal collection, a reminder of the day he faced the ultimate predator. As the expedition continued, Roosevelt carried himself with the same indomitable spirit, but there was a new glint in his eye. He had faced the unknown and emerged victorious, a testament to the unyielding will of humanity. For the rest of his life, Theodore Roosevelt would be remembered not just as a president, explorer, and conservationist, but as a man who hunted the stars and survived.